Creating a style guide is just like what you do in graphic design as well. You might want to type in style guides and look at examples. You definitely want to work on this a little bit more. Um, you want the style to kind of represent the website, your brand, but not quite look like a website. So one of the things you might want to kind of have to point out. There's different ways of doing this, but like for example, here they'll separate the color palette, and making it into circles and telling what the hexadecimal value is. So in your case, when I look at the style guide, I see here the hexadecimal and so forth, and that's perfect. But see, what I have is you have all this empty space over here. I would center align it, do something. You want to bring in, you want to create and tap into graphic design and layout of the for a style guide. Okay. The other thing, like for the font, what they're doing is they're actually changing the font size, and they're just saying header, and here's the font face, and this is what the color is going to be. So you kind of give, this is a really good style guide example to look at. So I would look at that aspect. Now, when I come and look at the colors, this color here that you're using with this pink or I don't know what color background, it's really hard to read. Very hard to read. And it's hard to read that yellow up there. So I might suggest looking at a different type of color scheme in a sense with that. Now, with that said, you posted this up here, and now granted, see, you're using black down here, and so black is a lot easier to read. Definitely, with that. Now this blue, with this blue and this red, it makes it harder. Now there's some issues here with lining things up. So let's take a look. I'm going to try to give you suggestions because the layout, the flow of this, just like in graphic design, you got to worry about flow, balance, symmetry, contrast, all those same design concepts you learn, you got to incorporate in web design. And just think of this as a page, a printed page. So let's get your Muse file. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing here, let me look at page properties real quick. Okay, is you didn't set up your master page correctly. So the master page is going to be created so that you can apply it to all the pages that you create, just like in InDesign. In InDesign, you can create your own master page. And what we want you to do here is we want you to create another page called About. So we add this little plus sign. I'm going to name this About. Now notice when I do this, it's a plain white page. Why? Because it's based on this master page. Now your About page here, all this information you have here, objective, a little bit more about me, experience, that needs to go on your About page, not your home page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to get it out of the way. So you didn't create that About page. The About page has to be right here. Now on your home page, let's just get our master page set up correctly. Master page, you got to remember, is whatever's going to appear on every page. Usually it has to do with our background, and so you're using this yellow. Let me add this to your swatch panel. I would add any of your colors you're using to your swatch panel so you have good access to it real quickly, so that way you can get to it as any time, for that purpose. And I'm going to delete these boxes. Okay. Eventually we'll delete this up here as well. So we're going to open up the master page, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this browser fill to be that yellow color. Okay. Now, if you want that red to be within the page, that red color, take your rectangle tool, and again, there's guides here. You have to make sure you stay in the guides. This is your page. You want to stay within the body section. Anything above that top roller is your header. Anything below is your footer. I want to choose that color right there. Okay. Now we're going to come back into the home page, and I'm going to take Ryan Davis and your phone number information and your footer information. I'm going to cut that out. That should be going on to your master page. place. So what we're going to do here is you don't have enough information for this over here. So what we want to do is we're going to do a couple things to get this changed around. We want this to be up. I'm going to move this header section, this ruler guide, down a little bit. And when I do this, I need to resize this area right here. So it gives me plenty of room to work with. Okay. I would probably suggest that if you're just going to have your email, maybe your phone number. I tend not to have my phone number on every page, but you can on that part. I think we just take, I assume that F stands for fax. I don't think we need to have that. And then what I want to do is I want to align this to the right hand side. Okay. Now with your footer area, this needs to be down here in the footer. I'm just going to right click on this and make sure it says footer item. Okay. Now I might just put it over here on the right hand side so it's out of the way, because you might put something more important over here. Now what's going to happen is whatever you place on the master page, now it's going to be identical on all these other pages. Now the problem that you're going to have is back on your home page, you have extra boxes in here I have to delete. I didn't, or resize. There's a box down here, and it looks like you resize this. There's that. There's a box up here, another box. There we go. Must be another box somewhere. We can move the bottom of the page up. Okay, so you went and resized certain things, but we want to keep it consistent. Okay, now when it comes to the about page, okay, you got this area here to work with. Now the problem that you have here with the master page, if you want to try to keep this blue, actually what we should have done, I'm going to take that back. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the master page. I'm going to delete this pink area here, this box, and what I want to do here is I want to change the fill to be that pink up here, this fill. That way it automatically goes in for the page, and so the yellow is going to be around the whole thing. So what you might have to do now is up here in the header section is just take this header, create a box, fill that in with that yellow, and go up to object, send to back. Okay, and that way when we look at it, then we get all this red that's down here, and yellow is going to be surrounded it. I'm going to assume are you leaving this empty space for graphics? I assume maybe that's what your assumption is. You can always put a placeholder in. So that's what this is, this picture frame, rectangle frame tool. If that's the case, you might want to do that so that way people can see it. But I would use guides here to help line things up, because your boxes are not lining up perfectly. So if I bring this over, you can see this first guide and education, they're not lined up perfectly itself. And it's going to be, so what you're doing is the lining aspect is not there yet. So what we want to do, we got to figure out if you're going to do a graphic on this, because that will cause with the issue with the layouts and so forth. What I'd probably suggest that you would do is I'm going to go back to the About Starter page. On the About page, I want to right click. I'm going to go to Page Properties. If you're on a Mac, control click. I'm going to put in 5 column guides, just like you would do in InDesign or Illustrator. And then when I go to the About page, it's going to put in those guides. Now, what's the beauty of this? Okay, I'm going to start up here, Objective. I'm going to resize this so it fits with the two columns, and it snaps right in. Okay. Now, what I want to do, if you're going to put a graphic in, again, I don't know if you have to let me know if you are. And if so, then this graphic, you can have it go across three columns, going across like that. But then over here where it says experience, you're going to have it come in, go across those latter two columns. I'm going to move this down. Put a picture frame over here. Again, if you're not doing picture frames, then I don't know on that. But then I'm lining this up, and so basically you're creating some symmetry, a little bit of alignment. You know, I still think that blue is a little bit harder to read, so we might have to take this rectangle frame tool, maybe use the the yellow color behind it. We can also change the opacity of this a little bit, mix it in with the red, makes it orange, type deal. That might help.